This is the NBA on 2K Sports. Hi everyone, Kevin Harlan joined by Clark Kellogg and Steve Kerr with our sideline reporter Doris Burke. Now a chance to check out our starting lineups. And as we take a long look here at Kawhi Leonard, guys, what's your thought on him?
A very encouraging start to Leonard's career, Kevin. He's a tough defender, an excellent rebounder, and his offensive game expanded pretty quickly his rookie season as well.
I expect his offense to continue growing too. His huge hands help him in that regard, Steve. Great nose for the ball, high rate of steals, an expert at stripping it away. For the Portland Trail Blazers, they won their last contest, that game against the Nuggets in Denver. And they barely squeaked by with that one, edging out by just 1 point.
And if you look at their numbers in that game, what jumps out most is the balance offensively. They really spread the wealth.
And they were on fire in all areas. That was a very satisfying road win. Guys, you go back to the shortened season a year before last, and the Spurs were the best team on the road. But last year, they weren't nearly as dominant on the road. Still solid when leaving San Antonio, but far from the level they played at a couple of seasons ago.
Now here's Parker. Ginobili on the wing for three. That drops, and it comes off an assist from Parker. Aldridge left side. Pass to Williams. He kicks it to Aldridge. The shot is off. Some solid defense there from Pendergraft.
Things have kind of gone south for him here in the quarter.
Rejected by Matthews. Leonard the pass to Parker.
And it seems like nothing's falling for him this quarter. He's really out of his rhythm.
It was red hot. He had 10 points in the win against Denver. Right side, Williams. And he connects with the jumper. Williams has got his first bucket in this one. And so it's San Antonio with it. 4-point game. And this game, the first chance they've had to see Portland.
Well, somewhat surprisingly, they actually lost the season series last year, and playoff status apparently meant nothing when it came to how they matched up.
Here's Ginobili. And a foul called on the shot. Got him on the way up that time, so he'll shoot two right here. And Clark, they should not have dropped that series. I mean, that was just sloppy.
I agree with you, Kevin. I think some teams just get underestimated. Plenty of teams can give you trouble if you assume you're going to come in and use them as a doormat. You got to be ready to play every time you lace them up.
The Spurs making a switch here. Both free throws good from Ginobili.
You know, for now, the Trailblazers are still the basketball team in the Pacific Northwest. You know, Seattle made a strong push to acquire the Kings, made a record bid, but the owners decided that Sacramento had done its part to keep the Kings, and so Seattle has to wait.
Now here's Williams. Fouled by Mills. Batista passes to Williams. That one goes. Count it. Williams has got his second bucket of the night.
As soon as the double team came, he immediately looked to find the open man.
And Clark, going back, you know, the Blazers, one of 3 teams in the Pacific Northwest. You also had the Sonics in Seattle and, Steve, you know, the Vancouver Grizzlies.
And I think those two cities, particularly Seattle, Kevin, are strong contenders for a new NBA franchise. Of course, Seattle almost ended up with the Sacramento Kings, but when Sacramento was awarded the franchise, a lot of people felt like it was only a matter of time before Seattle would be granted an expansion team.
Now here's Wright after the miss from Mills, and that one's good. Wright. There's 49 seconds left in the first quarter of the game. Mills with it. Ginobili outside. The dish to Mills. That falls. Nice feed that time for Manu Ginobili. Mills has got himself going there. His first points of the game on the deep ball. Last game for the Spurs. They want to turn it around after the loss to the Los Angeles Lakers.
And I think the sort of issues they had on defense, in part at least, was a bigger factor. Really compounded, I think, because it was on the road. You have to be sharper when you go out and play as a visitor.
Yeah, everything has to be tight. You can't be loose in any aspect of your game. You're fighting against the crowd and the opponent. You've got to be tougher mentally and physically if you're going to win on the road.
Here comes McCollum. Looking for his first basket still in this one. And there's the pass to Batista. And so he draws the foul on the shot. A trip to the line to shoot two.
Yeah, the referee's all over that one.
No doubt about it. Clearly a foul. Nothing to argue about there.
The Trailblazers shooting their first free throws of the game. That's good from Batista. The Spurs making a switch here. No good on the second free throw. Now Bellinelli. And no good trying to get that one. Offense, the order of the day as the first quarter comes to a close. Spurs lead by 6. And back with the start of the second quarter in just a moment.
Next Tuesday, November 5th, the Houston Rockets take on LaMarcus Aldridge and the Portland Trailblazers, live from Portland. Don't miss out.
And now the second quarter just getting set to start. And a breakdown here, guys. The hustle stats for the Spurs.
It looks like they're ready to run, fellas. I mean, they haven't hesitated at all to get out on the break so far.
And the offensive rebounding has been really impressive so far as well. So I really like this team's.
I gave you the keys, so you bring it right back. I just think it's funny how it goes. Now I'm on the road, $500,000 for a show, and we started from the bottom, now we're here.
Just about a minute and a half has gone by here in the second. Lillard and Matthews pair up in the backcourt. Batum and Aldridge are the power tandem, and it's Batista in at the 5 down low. That's the group on the floor for Portland. Batum against Leonard. Shot clock at 6. Parker. The Spurs need to get a shot off here. Leonard, no luck.
A dramatic improvement for the San Antonio Spurs defensively last season, guys. Coach Pop had suggested that they might have gotten too old to be an elite defensive team anymore, but that wasn't the case. I think he challenged them a little bit, and they raised the bar of their defensive performance.
And a chance here to catch up with the fourth member of our crew, Doris Burke. Hi, Doris.
Thank you, Kevin. Tony Parker and teammate Boris Diaw have known each other since high school back in France. Boris says of Tony, quote, "He's a point guard who can do it all. He can be an organizer and make the team play. Other times, he's going to be a scoring point guard. It's pretty rare to have both. And guys, Coach Popovich talked about how Parker's decision-making has matured as far as reading when to pass and when to score. He's found a great balance as the years have gone on, guys.
He can do it all, Doris. Pass, shoot, a special talent. Lillard outside. He passes to Matthews. Here's Red Hot. Diaw's there. Here's Batista. Rebound San Antonio. Leonard's got his 7th rebound here tonight. And Clark, you mentioned the defensive improvement of the Spurs. Going into last season, their stat gurus told them they needed to focus even more on contesting shots, even if that meant committing more fouls or allowing more offensive rebounds.
Well, that's exactly what they did, Kevin. They gave up a few more offensive rebounds, fouled slightly more than they had the prior season, but they were better in terms of shot blocks, steals, and they held their opponents to a lower field goal percentage. So a great example of getting an edge from advanced stats.
About 3 minutes played so far in the second quarter. Outside Williams. Crabbe kicks to Lopez. Pass to Crabbe. Good ball movement here by the Trailblazers. The shot by Williams, no good.
I tell you, Tim Duncan turned back the clock last season, didn't he? One of his best in years, and one of his best seasons ever when it comes to blocking shots. For a guy who doesn't get a whole lot of elevation, it's his timing that allows him to be a shot blocker without bouncing real high. And you know why he was open there. They didn't commit too much defense to him, and you can see why. He has trouble making that shot.
And Wright kicks to Williams. Passes it to Crabbe. Pass to Batista. Clock at 6. Puts it up from 12. And count the bucket. And that reminds me, did either of you guys see him in that last press conference?
Kevin, I saw him, and you know what I like is that he's so confident. I think every team needs a crazy guy, and he's crazy. I mean, you could tell with his comments, he's nuts. He wants the ball. He doesn't care what anybody thinks, and then he tells everybody how great he is. You know, you don't want 2 or 3 guys like that, but if you have one, he can really help you in big games.
Well, it does take all types to build a strong team, doesn't it? Eyes yet again, and the layup is good. Pendergraft's got his first points of the game.
The number of points they've scored in the paint already today is pretty eye-opening, Steve.
Oh, it's off the charts. It really is. And defensively, I mean, they have to start shutting down some of those lanes to the hoop.
Boris Diaw's checked in for Jeff Pendergraft. Here's Crabbe. He's covered by Ginobili. Crabbe kicks to Williams. And the pass to Batista. And he was fouled on the way up. 2 free throws now for him.
Well, the big thing is he's one of the top playmakers in the league. So he's got great court vision, accurate passing. He understands his teammates and their strengths and weaknesses. So always creating good shot opportunities for his club.
And we can't forget to mention his rebounding now. When you watch him, just keep an eye on the way he battles in the paint when a shot goes up.
Come on, you idiot!
That's good from Batista.
You know, guys, Portland had one of the worst benches in the history of the league last season. You know, they didn't get much contribution there. It was almost like they went into every game playing 5 versus 12.
The Spurs making a switch here. Bellinelli's checked in. And both free throws good from Batista. Well, as Clark was talking about when referring to the Blazers, the bench scoring was a big problem for him as they didn't have anyone really outside their starting five that Steve could be counted on for 7 points or more a game.
Yeah, look, the NBA game is 48 minutes long. It's tough to survive for those full 4 quarters when you have no offensive punch off the bench. But I think this offseason they added a lot of firepower, a lot of scoring in reserve, and we'll see if that makes a difference for this team this year.
Diaw gets a screen from Duncan. And Mills kicks to Bellinelli. He feeds it to Duncan. And it's going to be a goaltending call here, so they'll count the bucket.
He didn't get to that one quite in time, Kevin. Those can be tough to gauge sometimes.
And you can hear the reaction of the fans to that call.
Well, it's obvious they did not like it, Steve.
LaMarcus Aldridge is checked in for red hot. And the first half ends in a close one. Spurs out in front, up by 5. And join us right back here after the break for the start of the second half.
And now, brought to you by Sprint.
The fun has begun on this Saturday night, and we're ready to look back at all the first half action. San Antonio on top against Portland. They've been having their way inside. A huge lead when it comes to points in the paint, making it very hard to defend against them. And hanging tough, the Portland Trail Blazers. They're getting up in guys' jerseys, looking to send every shot into the 12th row. And that'll be our report. Thanks so much for joining us. We hope to see you next time.
The Sprint Halftime Report, presented by Sprint.
And it's been a back-and-forth game so far with no ground given through the first half. Third quarter starting here now.
What a game for Ginobili. He has 12 points, and he's put 1 3-pointer on the board.
Going forward, I think it'd be a good idea to let him spend a little more time behind the arc. He looks like he has enough.
Batum passes to Batista. Back to Batum. Leonard with the steal. On the floor for San Antonio. Leonard and Duncan are the pair at forward. Harper and Danny Green are your 1 and your 2. And it's Diaw in at the pivot spot, manning the middle.
Well, Blazers coach Terry Stotts is a branch on the tree of head coach George Karl, and that's a pretty good tree to be on. In his playing days, Karl coached Stotts in the CBA, and actually Stotts had a pretty good career in Europe.
Green with the ball. And Batum picks him up defensively. The shot by Duncan. Here's Diaw. The third shot of the possession finally falls for him. Diaw's got 5 points so far. Trailblazers trail by 12. And for Terry Stotts, after his playing days, he coached as an assistant under George Karl, both in the CBA and then with the Sonics and the Bucks.
And over 2 decades of coaching experience, Kevin. This is his 6th season overall as an NBA head coach. Remember, he coached the Hawks as well as the head man, but I thought did a nice job with Portland last season.
Now let's go to Doris Burke. Doris?
Well, gentlemen, you recall around draft night, there were rumors that the Cavaliers were willing to trade both the number 1 and number 19 picks for LaMarcus Aldridge, but they were rebuffed by Portland. And it's easy to see why the Blazers would be reluctant to part with their franchise big man. But with Aldridge expressing unhappiness in Portland over the summer, you wonder if that's a decision they'll live to regret. Kevin?
No question, Doris. Everyone's got to be invested and on board, or it just doesn't work.
The Spurs have always been very mindful of resting key players during the regular season. Some of it has to do with the age of their players. Some of it is regarding talent because they knew they were a playoff team most years. And if you look at the research, there is something to be said for not playing guys when they're fatigued because injuries are more likely if you play tired.
Cut the bucket.
The defense sagged off, and, he did not hesitate to rise up and bury that three.
Portland's gone 1 of 3 from downtown since halftime. Watson gets a screen from Batista. Aldridge dishes to Watson. He passes to Batista. It's good, and Watson picking up the assist. That's 7 points for Red Hot. And back to the Spurs and their strategy of resting their star players, not without some controversy. The NBA, as you may recall, fined the Spurs and Coach Popovich for sitting all their starting players for a nationally televised game back in November.
Well, it was their 4th game in 5 nights, and Pop wanted to rest some of their guys because of just the nature of their schedule. But I think the problem was he didn't give the league advance warning. And that game against Miami, when he rested those 3 players, he actually sent them home. And I think that was a little shot at the league. And that's why there was a problem, and that's why the Spurs and Popovich ended up getting fined.
And let's take a moment, guys, to get your take on the scoring so far for the Spurs.
They've been the aggressors, and they've been tougher in the paint all game.
Another part of their game that's made a difference tonight is all the second chance points they've been able to get.
Well, for the Portland Trailblazers, a new training staff hired over from Oklahoma City. They let go of their previous trainer who'd been with the team for 19 seasons. Fair or not, I think the seat got hot after all the injuries that were really devastating this team.
Looking at who's out there now for the Spurs. Kawhi Leonard comes in for Boris Diaw, and DeColo subbed in for Daniel Green. And the second free throw, good. And for the Blazers, statistically the most injured team in the NBA, Clark, from 2009 through 2012.
And the new training staff is advanced in not just injury treatment, but injury prevention. And that's key, using strength bands, recording baseline measurements for muscle strength and flexibility, even using Eastern medicine. So they're not leaving any stone unturned.
It seems like when they've gone to him, he's really come through. And that's not something they should get away from.
Trailblazers trail by 12. They set the screen. Watson kicks to Crabbe. .29 seconds left to play here in the third. Watson, 5 on the clock. Passes it to Batista. Duncan on him with the fadeaway. And that's off the glass and in. 10 points for Red Hot.
We don't see the wide open fadeaway shot too often.
Here's DeColo. Dishes it to Ginobili. Joseph sets a screen for Ginobili. Can't get it to go.
Well, with that much space off the pick, you've got to drop that in.
Yeah, you got to make that one. I mean, that's a high-quality shot you should make 9 out of 10 times.
And here at the end of the third quarter, it's a double-digit ball game. Spurs lead by 10.
Next Friday night, November 8th, DeMarcus Cousins and the Sacramento Kings take on LaMarcus Aldridge and the Portland Trailblazers. Big-time hoops coming your way.
Well, welcome back as we get set to start the fourth. And Mills kicks to Parker. We've got 33 seconds left here in the fourth quarter. San Antonio again missing. Portland's gone 0-3 so far in the fourth quarter from long range. At the 2 and the 3 are McCollum and Wright. Red is out there with Myers Leonard, and it's Williams at the point guard. That's the group on the floor for Portland. And here's Mills. And the call will be against Red Hot. That's his first foul of the game, and the bonus will go to the free throw line.
2 shots.
The first free throw is good. The Spurs making a switch here. And both free throws good for Mills. Here's McCollum. Offline. And so it's San Antonio easily taking this one. And this one was such a lopsided victory.